Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Simpson and I'm a dietitian with Weis Markets. Today I've prepared a presentation to share with you. The topic is the truth about sugar, how to satisfy your child's sweet tooth. So thanks for joining me. So we're going to jump right in with some objectives. By the end of this presentation, you should have learned about the types of sugars in foods and how they impact the body and cancer. Hopefully you will be inspired to try some healthy snack ideas that I share with you, and you'll feel comfortable setting goals for you and your family. Now that we know our objectives for today's presentation, let's take a closer look at what is sugar and what happens when we eat it. The word sugar doesn't really tell us much. In fact, all carbohydrates that we eat turn into sugar when they're digested. The sugar is going to be called glucose. So glucose is a major source of fuel for your cells and especially the brain. The body cells prefer glucose so much so that even if you don't eat many carbs, the body will still make glucose from protein and fat. Because cancer cells are part of the body, they too use glucose for fuel. Does that mean you should completely cut out carbs? Well, eliminating carbohydrates can make it difficult to maintain weight while dealing with cancer treatment and side effects. Furthermore, trying to eliminate all sugars creates stress on the body, which can also elevate blood sugar levels and be counterproductive. Different carbohydrates also provide essential nutrients, so vitamins, minerals, fiber, as well as phytonutrients. But more on that later. As mentioned, all carbohydrates in the foods that you eat turn into glucose. Think about foods that are made with flour, and not just wheat flour, but alternative flours, including corn flour or coconut flour, among others. These items will have carbs. This list provides examples of carb-containing foods you may encounter on in a normal diet, but not all carbs are created equal or cause the same effects on blood sugar. So let's take a closer look. Here we have some types of carbohydrates. Complex carbs are in a group of their own. So complex carbs get their name because the foods are made up of long chains of starches. So complex carbs include whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, and whole grain tortillas, brown rice, quinoa, farro, and popcorn. Some vegetables, including winter squash and potatoes, and legumes, which include beans, peas, and lentils. Naturally occurring sugars and added sugars are examples of simple sugars. So plain dairy products and fruits are examples of naturally occurring sugars, meaning that no sweeteners have been added to these items. They're sweet due to naturally occurring carbohydrates. On the other hand, added sugars are any sugars that have been added to a food. So, for example, think about sugar-sweetened beverages, desserts, sweetened dairy products, breakfast foods such as cereal or flavored instant oatmeal, Pop-Tarts. These can all contain added sugars. Since these are all carbohydrates, they do ultimately turn into glucose and therefore fuel our cells. However, the impact of these foods on how high and quickly your blood sugar spikes can vary based on the characteristics of the food. So for example, bread made with white flour has already been processed. That white flour goes through a processing, and so because of this, it's easier for your body to process it, and that can result in a quicker spike in your blood sugar. On the other hand, a whole grain slice of bread that has been less processed and still has all of its fiber is going to result in a slower release of those sugars into your bloodstream because your body has to work harder to digest the whole grain bread with its fiber. While keeping carbs on the menu, here are some tips to reduce rapid spikes in blood sugar. So try to spread out your carbs by eating frequent meals and snacks. This can help balance insulin levels. Avoid naked carbs, meaning avoid eating only a carb-containing food. Instead, pair carb-containing foods with healthy fats or protein. Fat, protein, and fiber slow the rate at which the stomach empties, which can result in a slower release of those sugars into the bloodstream. Ensuring that fiber is included in a meal or snack can help delay gastric emptying and better control blood sugar levels. Whole grains are a great addition to any diet due to their fiber content compared to refined grains. So an example of this, Classic white pasta has about 2 grams of fiber per serving. Whole grain pasta has 6 grams of fiber per serving. That's 3 times the amount of fiber per serving. So really just an example there of the more fiber that the more whole grains you choose, the more fiber you're going to get. So try to make at least half of your grains whole, but of course, the more often you make that choice or choose whole grains over enriched grains, the better. Reading the ingredient label can help identify a whole grain. You want to find the ingredients list, and you want that first ingredient to be whole grain or whole wheat flour. Some breads are going to be dark in color, but are not true whole grains. So some of them might be labeled wheat or honey wheat or split top wheat. Often these breads have a first ingredient that is enriched wheat flour. So again, just not a true whole grain. Another tip to help identify a whole grain bread is to look at the fiber content. Aiming for about 2 or 3 grams of fiber per slice can help you find a true whole grain bread. Near the ingredients is the Nutrition Facts panel. The Nutrition Facts panel was redone in 2020. Among some of the changes was the addition of the breakdown of total sugar. There's now a distinction between naturally occurring sugars and added sugars. So if you view the Nutrition Facts panel on the left of the slide here, the red arrow indicates where to look to identify if and how much added sugars are in a food. This can help you make decisions about purchasing a certain food. The next tip here is going to be to choose whole fruits over fruit juices, as whole fruits will provide fiber. It's a lot easier to drink 3 oranges worth of orange juice than it is to eat 3 whole oranges because of the fiber content. You'll feel fuller by choosing the whole fruit, and again, that fiber will help control or help to slow the release of that sugar into the bloodstream. When it comes to dessert, try fruit to satiate your child's sweet tooth. For example, you could try microwaved apples and peanut butter with cinnamon as a yummy evening snack. It can help reduce a sweet craving, but sweets are okay occasionally, meaning a few times a week. The last bullet here I will expand on the next slide. Glycemic index and glycemic load refer to the effect of different foods on blood sugar and how quickly a food is digested, absorbed, and metabolized. So let's look a little bit closer at that. So what is the difference between glycemic index and glycemic load? Well, glycemic index ranks carbohydrate-containing foods on a scale of 1 to 100. So, and that's going to be based on how blood sugar rises after eating 50 grams of carbs of any food. So 100 is the rank of pure glucose. Anything under 55 is considered low glycemic index. Glycemic load also ranks foods based on how blood sugar rises, but instead of using the blanket 50 grams of carbs for all foods, it measures using a traditional serving size. So to put that in perspective, eating 50 grams of lower carb containing foods such as carrots would be the equivalent of eating over 4 cups of chopped carrots. Most people don't sit down and eat 4 cups of chopped carrots. So glycemic load measures the effect of a more traditional serving size. So glycemic load for a ranking of 0 to 10 is considered low glycemic load, and 20 and up is considered high. And then this chart on the slide here, it just provides you with some general rankings of some common foods for your reference. So you can see some of the different foods that we might have mentioned earlier. Some of those foods that have less or no added sugars are going to be on that low glycemic index. Whole grain bread there, rolled or steel cut oatmeal, bran cereals, lots of whole grains, pasta is up there, most vegetables and fruits are listed for you. So again, just kind of an idea of how different common foods rank on the low, medium to high glycemic index. So while glycemic index and glycemic load can be a helpful tool to identify foods that deliver slow and steady carbs, it should not be used alone. The other nutrition factors of a food should be considered. An example of this would be that potato chips have a low glycemic index, but they are not necessarily a healthier or superior snack simply because the fat content slows down the absorption of carbs. So for more information on glycemic index and glycemic load, as well to investigate some different rankings of some different foods, you can visit glycemicindex.com. Okay, so switching gears a little bit here, we're going to talk about looking at some healthy snack inspiration. So these snacks that I'm going to share with you are going to have a more of an emphasis on the sweeter snack ideas. Of course, this is not an all-inclusive list, and there are plenty of savory, healthy snack ideas out there. So let's go ahead and see. So again, just some ideas here. So we're going to first talk about the healthy snack formula. So the healthy snack formula is including fiber-containing carbs with protein and or fat. We learned earlier that fiber, protein, and fat all slow the rate at which the stomach empties, helping to slow the release of sugar into the bloodstream. All of these snacks follow the formula and will help your child feel full and energized and like they're having a treat. So the first snack idea was mentioned earlier, but a little bit more detail. Cinnamon apples with peanut butter drizzle. So for the snack, you simply slice apples, add the cinnamon, top with peanut butter, and then microwave until desired softness. The apples are going to provide the fiber, the peanut butter provides some healthy fats and some plant-based protein, and then the cinnamon adds to the feel of a dessert. So really, really easy to do, a simple snack idea. Next, we have some do-it-yourself trail mix. I like this idea because the possible combinations of different mix-ins are really endless, and so it will keep it from getting boring. So you can combine some unsweetened dried fruits such as raisins or apricots, pineapple, dried mango, or even a combination of these different dried fruits with some lightly salted or no salt added nuts. So you could use shelled pistachios or almonds or cashews or walnuts, among others. And then lastly, tossing in some whole grain cereal such as Quaker oatmeal squares. All of these ingredients are going to provide fiber, the nuts are going to provide some plant-based protein and some healthy fats, and then the cereal actually gives a little bit of a protein boost as well. Another snack idea is the strawberry banana protein smoothie. In a blender, combine the frozen banana with 1/2 cup of fresh or frozen strawberries, a cup of plant or dairy milk or water, and 2 tablespoons of your favorite protein powder. I like to use a frozen banana because it gives the smoothie a nice creamy texture. This is a great base recipe too, so you can mix it up by adding other ingredients such as frozen mangoes in place of the strawberries for more of a tropical flavor, or you can even toss in some spinach or avocado for an additional nutrition boost and a fun color. The fourth idea is a cheese and nut stuffed date, and so this snack is very easy to assemble. Simply slice the date down the center and then add your favorite cheese and an almond. Dates are a good source of fiber, and they are naturally very, very sweet. So this is kind of a sweet and savory snack, but it's definitely a favorite of mine. So very, very easy to assemble. Lastly, we have frozen yogurt bark. So you are going to start by spreading vanilla Greek yogurt or another flavor of yogurt of your choice on a sheet pan. You sprinkle that with diced fruit and some chopped nuts or seeds. You could also use granola or grape nuts for a crunch instead of the nuts or seeds, and then you basically just place the pan in the freezer for about 3 hours until it's frozen solid. After the freezing is done, you remove it from the freezer, and then you can break it into little snack size bites. So again, just a few ideas here to hopefully give you some recipe inspiration. Also, all 5 of these ideas are really, really easy to assemble and really easy to do, and so it's a nice way to even get the kids involved in the kitchen and have them do some hands-on preparation with these snacks. Okay, so finishing up, we will end talking about goal setting. To this point, we have learned some useful information about carbohydrates and choices, but how do we take that information and turn it into action? Start by setting a goal. But not just any goal, one that you can actually achieve. So let's look at how to set a goal that you can actually achieve. When it comes to goal setting, it's better to have a more detailed goal than one that is vague. This is where SMART goals come in handy. So SMART is an acronym to help make sure that you have crafted a solid goal. So we'll go ahead and look at the different characteristics. So S is for specific. This is where you want this is where you check to see if your goal answers the 5 W's. So who, what, when, where, why, and then even how. You don't always need to answer all of these, but you probably should at least answer 1 or 2. M is for measurable. So how will I know if I've actually accomplished my goal? What do I need to hit or achieve in order to know that I have done what I set out to do? A is for attainable. Is this goal something that I can reach, or is it maybe a little bit too out of my reach? R is for realistic. Am I able to do this goal? If I'm able to do it, am I willing to do it? T is for timely. Your goal should have a deadline. That deadline should be in the foreseeable future, not so far away that you lose sight of it. And so one sentence might not do it when it comes to crafting a good goal. Again, more details, the better, and so you might need more than one sentence. So here's our example goal. Our example goal says, my goal is to eat more whole grains. This goal is certainly attainable, and it is realistic because I'm able and willing to do that. But it's a bit vague beyond that. It doesn't tell me how I'm going to eat more whole grains, or how I will know if I've accomplished this, since there's no measure of what more is. Let's look at the edited goal. My goal is to eat more whole grains 3 days a week at lunch by using a whole grain tortilla or sandwich bread for the next month. This goal is still attainable and realistic, but now it's also measurable, and by including how many times a week. I know that if I eat whole grains 3 times a week, I will have achieved this goal. Furthermore, it tells me how I will be eating these whole grains. So it takes the guesswork out of actually achieving this goal. Lastly, it's timely by specifying a month duration. So I know at the end of the month, if I have eaten my whole grains 3 times a week at lunch, that I have achieved this goal. So this is a solid goal because it has all parts of the SMART acronym. So I challenge you to start thinking about some of the information that we covered and identifying something that you could make a SMART goal out of. Now, whether that is a goal similar to this about increasing whole grains, or maybe it's about increasing the types of less sugar, less added sugars in the snacks that you're offering. That could also be a good place to start for a goal. But definitely take the time to try to compare your goal and make sure that it has all the parts of the SMART acronym. So that concludes this presentation. Thank you all for joining me, and should you have any follow-up questions, my email is displayed for you here. Thanks again.